In this video, we will see what is a function in C programming. So function is a block of code which performs a specific task. So some lines of code will perform some specific task in a function. So what specific task it can be? It can be to calculate sum, to find prime numbers, alright, to display some series of a number. Okay, so some kind of specific task is performed by some lines of code and that is grouped inside a function. So what is the advantage? Advantage is the reusability of the code. You are going to use the code again and again. So there are basically two types of functions, predefined function and user-defined functions. So what are predefined functions? We have already used many times printf and scanf. So these are your predefined functions. That means these functions, meaning of these functions are already defined in your C compiler. Then we have user-defined functions. That is the functions that are defined by user. User means we people. So this is the syntax of a function where we have return type of the function, then we have function name, then data type, then parameter 1, data type of parameter 2, then opening braces and closing curly braces, and inside that you have body of function. So what it actually is: return type, function name, data type, parameter 1, data type of parameter 2, and body of the function. So this is the syntax of a function. So in function we have three main things. One is declaration, the other one is definition, that is your function declaration, function definition, and one is your function calling. So we will understand these three things. In the declaration, you have function name and return type only. In the definition, we have body of the function and then we have function calling. So let's see what is function declaration. So in the function declaration, we just write return type, function name, and then we may or may not give parameter list. Alright, if we give the parameter list, then it is your prototype. Alright, function prototype. If we do not mention parameter list, then it is your simple function declaration. So here you can see an example: int add, int a, int b. So this int is your return type of the function, add is the function name, this is your data type of parameter 1, this is your int data type of parameter b. So let's see and understand all these with the help of your example. Alright, see. This is one example of function where our program execution starts with main function. So here also the execution starts with main function. So return type of this function is int. That is, this main function is returning an integer data type value. So when we enter the function int sum, this is your variable, this is your integer type, and this add is a function. Alright, and we are passing two values 5 and 3 to the function add. What is this add? Here it is defined. The add is declared over here and defined over here. Alright, so you can see this add is declared here, but it is defined over here. So this when the main function is calling your add function, alright, this is your main function, it is calling this add function here and passing two values 5 and 3 to it. So this add function is now called as function calling. This is called as function calling. What is function calling? This your add function is this main function is calling add function. See, what happens is in the memory of your computer, when you call this main function, your program execution starts with main function. So a memory is allocated to this main function. Some memory is allocated to this main function. And when it is executing line number 1 of main function, that is your int sum, then there it is calling one function that is add. Alright, another function, alright, which is defined somewhere else. So this function is calling some other function add. Alright, so now the control from here is transferred to the add function over here, where this add function is defined. Alright, this was your function calling. Here you are calling the function. Here you have defined this function, that what this function is going to perform. So here when the control is being transferred over here, then what it is performing? Int add, int x, int y. So what are the parameter list? X and y. So these values 5 and 3 is given to x and y. Alright. So now when the control came to add function, a new memory is allocated in your computer. Some space is allocated in the memory to the add function. Now what add function will do? It got the value x and y which was passed by this. See, here it has called your 5 and 3. Alright. So this 5 and 3 value is received over here. Okay. Now this add function is going to perform the operation 5 plus 3. Alright, which is 8. Now this 8 value is returned. Okay, here you can see return. So now where the control will be returned? To the place from where it was called. Okay, to the place from where it was being called. So this function was called from here. So now the control is returned back over here. Okay. When the function was called, then the control was given to the function definition where that function was defined. After the completion, when there is return, then it is going to return back to the part of the program where it was called, from where it was called. So after performing this 8 value is going to be returned where? Back to your main function from where it was called. So here you receive the value 8. Okay, and int sum is equal to, now this 8 is going to be assigned to sum. So now what sum contains? Some variable contains value 8. And now the next line is going to be executed. Printf result is sum. So what will be printed on the screen? Result is 8. So this is going to be printed on the screen. And then the next line return 0 is going to be executed and this function is going to return 0. So what was actually being carried out? You see, this was your function calling. Alright, here we performed function calling. Here it was function definition where this function was defined. And what is this doing over here? Function declaration. Why do we need over here that we have to say to the compiler that this add function is defined somewhere below the program? Okay. What actually is happening is, you see, why do we need to write this function declaration? Because you see the compiler is going to run line by line. Okay, so if this line is not present over here, if suppose this line is not present over here, so it enters int main and then it goes for int sum and it sees add this function. All right, so this function was not present above, the execution started, and it didn't see that add was present. So it may get confused whether this function is present or not. Okay, during the compilation, not during the execution. So what what will happen now? It will create the entire confusion. So to avoid that, we first declare the function. All right. In the function declaration, what are we going to write? Return type. That is return type of that function. All right. Then the function name. This is the function name. Then the parameter list. Writing or not writing the parameter list is optional. All right. So here you could have also written like this: int add int a int b. So it would have been worked. Remember to put semicolon in the end. Okay. Function declaration will have semicolon in the end, but function definition is not going to have any semicolon over here. Alright. Function calling also has a semicolon. Function declaration has, but function definition do not have any semicolon over here. So function declaration we were talking about that here we can give parameter list also and we cannot give also. Both are okay. Alright. But what problem will be created if we do not give? Just a minor problem here that if you give here for more than one value, then it will show you an error over here. So if you give parameter list over here, then that becomes your function prototype. All right, where you are also mentioning the parameter list and the data type of that parameters. All right, you could have also written int add just int, or you are just saying the type. This will also work. Okay, so this is all about your function declaration and definition and function calling. Okay, now one more problem comes is understanding of actual parameters and formal parameters. So what are the difference between actual and formal parameters? See, in this program, main function calls the sum function. This is function calling, all right? Inside the main function, you are calling sum function and you are passing two values 20 and 30 to this sum function, all right? So where the control goes to here. And this 20 and 30 values are given to the parameters of this sum function, all right? So this 20 and 30 are called as your actual parameters. Alright, this is called as your actual parameters and A and B is going to be called as formal parameters. Alright, this will be your formal parameters A and B, and 20 and 30 are the actual parameters, the values that you give to the variables. Okay, so this is all about your function declaration, definition, and function calling. Okay,